everybody? Welcome back to the Jackson Show. I'm your host, Jackson Solomon, and today we are going to be recapping some of the best games from this weekend. College and NFL is in both sports. So if you can, before we get into it, please do me a huge favor, drop a like and subscribe. It means so much to me when you guys leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to comment your thoughts on the show down below. Help me make it better. Help me make it better. Maybe you have an opinion on the show. So leave a comment down below on what you just kind of what you think about the show, your opinions, stuff like that. So we're going to start with a weekend recap. I'm sure as most of you know how this thing goes by now. But if you do not, I break down two of the best games from this previous weekend. I go through the scoring breakdown, and then I give you my notes, my thoughts, things I thought about when watching this game. And then I will move on to the next game. We're going to talk about a couple of specific categories, get upset, blowout, and then players of the week, plus top 10s, which I did not do last week. I'm doing it this week. So, all that is in today's episode. We're going to start with last week. We had this as game of the week, but Penn State taking on Oregon. Easily a great game. I won't say game of the year because I like offense, but this was pretty close. Went to double overtime. We start with a Penn State field goal in the second quarter, Oregon would answer with a field goal. And that would be the halftime score, 3-3. Then the scoring gets started. Back-to-back touchdowns by Oregon, answered by back-to-back touchdowns by Penn State. 17-17, I think into the half. Katron Allen with a rushing touchdown. Jamari Johnson with a touchdown reception from Dante Moore. 24-24, and then 30-24 on the touchdown pass. Dante Moore threw to Gary Bryant, making it a 6-point game. And then the final play, which was not part of the scoring breakdown, but it was a big-time interception by the safety Daniel Thieneman to end the game. So, my thoughts on this game was, first of all, this was a defensive battle. And people are talking about, we're not surprised. This is what Penn State does. They choke in the big game. They actually pretty much don't. They made it all the way to the playoff last year. The only thing that really, Ohio State or Penn State, they don't beat Ohio State and they don't beat Michigan. If they played Indiana, I think they would beat Indiana. Oregon, I think, is just, and I'm a person that wasn't really high on Oregon the last two seasons. I thought, Oregon, why are they the third best team in the country right now? And I was like, Oregon, why are we putting Oregon so high? They lost so many players this offseason. I understand why now. And it's because a lot of people had a tremendous amount of faith in Dante Moore. Something that I did not have in Dante Moore. But some people are saying he's the Heisman favorite. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So I'm going to get to my Heisman favorite in a minute. Right? But, Oregon, they played incredible, especially that defense. And with Penn State, I think it's a Drew Allard problem. They weren't really good or great or fantastic or anything like that. And the final minutes they were able to get things down, but they weren't able to run the ball. Drew Allard had less than 15 completed passes, and yet they were still in this game. That tells me a lot about Penn State's defense, and it tells me a lot about what it's going to look like when they play Ohio State. I hate to be like, this game's going to be like this, but that's what Penn State, Ohio State is going to be. It's going to be the same thing. Not quite the same thing as this game, but it's going to be the same as Ohio State, Texas, where it's a defensive battle with two teams, and they're going at it. They're going to be going at it, these two teams. So that's kind of what I think Ohio State, Penn State is going to be. Oregon, and look at the future. Outside of Indiana, they play nobody. They might make it to the Big Ten championship game. They might be playing I don't want to say Penn State again because there's a good chance they lose to the Buckeyes. But they're going to be playing either Ohio State or they're going to be either playing Ohio State or Michigan. But I think Oregon's a lock. Until, that Indiana game is going to tell me a lot about what the Big Ten's going to be, because then we've seen everybody play competent or really good competition. Not saying that Illinois isn't a good team because Indiana beat Illinois. It's just that I can't really evaluate how well, how good Indiana plays because they blew out Illinois. In Illinois, that offensive line didn't really look good against Indiana. Now, granted, they didn't look great this Saturday, but, I mean, they didn't look good. They looked worse versus Indiana, so they got that thing right. So, Oregon, I like Oregon now. I'm high on Oregon again. I believe in Oregon. Alabama, transitioning from Big Ten to SEC. This was another game. I couldn't do the Oregon Penn State game. It's just something about, SEC ball that's just built different. And I also like the ABC presentation more than the NBC presentation. But that's a story for another time. So basically, right, Alabama, okay, starts the scoring off. The game is in Athens, right? Georgia is the 5th team in the country coming off a big-time win at Rocky Top versus Tennessee. Alabama's the 17th ranked team in the country. Everybody remembers them for their Week 1 loss versus Florida State. Florida State lost. This was a game that Alabama needed to win because now Florida State's not looking like a quality loss, right? Even though I do think Florida State's... I don't know what to think about Florida State anymore, but we're going to talk about that maybe tomorrow. Depends on when the rankings episode comes out. But, yes. Alabama, right, gets the scoring started off. Touchdown pass from Jeremy Bernard. So 7-0. Then Isaiah Horton catches a touchdown pass. 14-0. Georgia answers. Colby Young, big shot. It was a crazy play. Basically, guy wasn't paying attention, and Colby Young ran right past the defensive back to score a touchdown. Alabama field goal. Chancey Bowens with a touchdown to make it 17-14. And then Ty Simpson with a rushing touchdown, make it 24-14. So that's the halftime score, 24-14. Alabama would not score another point for the rest of the game. The rest of the game would fall onto the shoulders of the Alabama defense, and they gave up the Josh McCray rushing touchdown, but that was it. They really didn't give up anything else. The final score of that game, 24-21, I'm sure most of us know. So my opinion of Alabama has changed, but they've gotten better over the past 3 weeks. Granted, I will admit, that second game of the season, I was like, yeah, Ty Simpson's not the guy. It might be Keelan Russell. That might be the quarterback of your football team. Because I wasn't high on Ty Simpson, even though he was pretty good in that first game. I'm like, I can't do it. But he came out Wisconsin and played really well, and I think that's when I started to kind of change my mind about what I thought about Alabama. I kind of started to change my mind, okay, maybe Ty Simpson's not that bad, because I did see bits and pieces of that game. Watching the entirety of this Alabama versus Georgia game, I realized that, Alabama, Ty Simpson is not like Tua and is not like Bryce Young. He is less mobile, but when he is accurate, he's accurate. And when he gets hot, he's in the zone, he's hard to stop. And I said it last week, and I'll say it again. When I was talking about Georgia's defense, I said, Georgia's defense, right? Their defense. I said it last week. I said Georgia's defense, even though Tennessee and Alabama play two completely different styles of play, Georgia's defense is not that good. my opinion, has changed a little bit because they did pitch that second half shutout, but you gave up 24 in the first quarter, and what's even more embarrassing is they didn't score for the rest of the game and you lost. That falls onto the offense, and it also falls onto you. Also, Georgia, crucial fumble. You cannot do that, especially when you're backed up inside your own. I think they were inside at least the 25-yard line. Believe they were inside the 15 if you want to be real specific. But I mean, you can't fumble like that, man. It's crazy. They were they were inside the 15-yard line. You cannot do that in a big-time game versus a big-time team like Alabama, who, by the way, does not lose to ranked opponents, which is why they are beating Vandy. I'm calling it now. They do not lose to ranked teams. They lose to unranked teams. So Alabama, if I'm LSU and I'm unranked by the time I play Bama, I'm happy. You got to watch out for games like South Carolina and Auburn. Those are the games that really Alabama's on upset watch because they haven't been able to beat unranked teams as well as people might think. Just hasn't happened. All right, Sunday in the NFL. Eagles Bucks. I had this as game of the week. Eagles had a blocked punt for a touchdown to start the game. 7-0. Dallas Goedert, a little shovel pass from Jalen Hurts. I believe it was the shovel pass, yeah. From Jalen Hurts, scored the touchdown. And then the Bucks would kick a field goal. 14-3 at the end of one. Touchdown from Dallas Goedert again. 21-3. Field goal by Elliott. Another field goal by the Bucks. All right, this is where the tide starts to turn. Emeka Ibuka with a big-time touchdown reception from Baker. Saquon Barkley, the fake tush-push touchdown. It's so hard to stop, but if you ran it more often, teams would start to catch on. So I don't know, man. It's an unstoppable play, but people are wanting to ban it, and it's kind of like, no. But now that they have brought this up, this discussion of banning the tush push, now that they've brought it up, it's definitely getting banned next year. Like, it's gone. It's getting banned. Abolished. All right. Let's see here. Yeah. Bucky Irving caught a touchdown pass, and it was another 70-yarder. Bucks are within a touchdown, or 11, 31-20. McLaughlin would kick a field goal, 31-23, but back-to-back missed opportunities by the Bucks, and the Eagles would hold on to win the game. This is just like last week, where the first 2 weeks of the season with the Eagles, I'm just going to be honest, I picked them to win all 4 weeks. Or I picked them to lose all 4 weeks. They won. So I got to start believing in the Eagles more, but I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm looking at this when I'm being honest with you, and I'm looking at this, and the Eagles' offense the first 2 weeks of the season was completely unimpressive. Like, they just couldn't get things going. A.J. Brown was non-existent, right? Saquon Barkley was non-existent. Barkley's still kind of irrelevant now, but now the offense has gotten things clicking. Granted, the special teams blocked punt was probably the most impactful part of the win, because if you subtract 7 from 31, it's a 1-point game, and the Bucs are in field goal range at least once on that final drive. So it's kind of an important thing with the special teams and the defense being able to get stops. But I feel like, and this is just me personally, the Eagles, right? The Eagles, the defense is playing at is basically playing at a much better level, right? I think since that Chiefs game, the defense, they weren't great last week in the first half of that game, but they've really stepped up. And things are going to get tougher without Nolan Smith until November. But good news for them, for the Eagles, excuse me. Play the Broncos and the Giants, followed by the Vikings and the Giants again the next 4 games. So that's all October. And then you get Nolan Smith back after the bye, and then you take on the Packers and the Lions. Like, they could easily be 8-0. They won't, though, because Super Bowl hangover rate's hard. They won't. And for the Bucs, honestly, it's another. We talked about it. Does Baker have another comeback in him? But Baker shouldn't have to come back. You feel me? Like, that first game was a back and forth game, so I get it. The second game, you shouldn't have had to come back. Same thing goes for the Jets. Same thing goes for this game. Like, you should be able to assert yourself and win a game. Granted, when you're least expecting a comeback is in the fourth quarter when you're up 10, but still, I just feel like the Buccaneers, their kind of season has been defined by the comeback, and you can't go to the playoffs and win in the playoffs with that sort of mentality. So they got to correct that. I'm going to tell you this. The Bucs play the Seahawks this weekend. So if the Bucs have to come back and win this game, I might be out on Tampa Bay. It's just, you shouldn't be in a spot where you have to come back. I still think that they're a great team, but you shouldn't be in a point in the game where you have to come back, especially from where the Bucs were in this game, plus special teams. I mean, that's like the second time the Bucs special teams has given up a block. It's crazy. Okay, next and final game of our recap was Sunday Night Football, the Micah Parsons revenge game. It's kind of it's insane. Insane how this game went. Okay, so it started off with a touchdown by the Packers, 7-0. Romeo Doubs catches another touchdown pass from Jordan Love, so he's got 2 touchdown passes, and then the extra point is blocked to return for a touchdown by Dallas. Dak Prescott running in a 2-yard touchdown. Then George Pickens makes a touchdown catch from Dak. 16-13 the halftime score. Josh Jacobs with a rushing touchdown, 20-16. Jake Ferguson catch from Dak, and it's 20-23. Now, this is where things get crazy. Before the quarter starts, Josh Jacobs rushing touchdown. Javonte Williams rushing touchdown. Romeo Doubs receiving touchdown. He's got a hat trick in case you were paying attention. 34-30. George Pickens a touchdown reception. 37-34. And I remember I was watching the game with my brother, and he goes, the Cowboys are going to choke this away. They're going to do the Cowboys thing. And I was like, no, they're not. I believe in the Cowboys. My buddy Jamin, he's a Cowboys fan. He did predictions a couple of weeks back. He needs this, and I'm doing this for Jamin. And then McManus kicks a field goal to tie the game up. Aubrey kicks a field goal to start for the the Bucs, for the Cowboys. McManus would kick a field goal with 1 second left for the Packers, and the game ends in a tie, which I'm not going to say is the most Cowboys thing ever. The most Cowboys thing ever is they lose on a touchdown with 1 second left. But man, that has got to be one. Listen, and I'm speaking to all Packers fans. This is not any Lions bias or anything like that. And I'm being so serious right now. Okay? Like, I'm not even kidding when I say this. If I'm a Cowboys fan, that counts as a win to me. That counts as a win to me. Because when you think about it, you have no CeeDee Lamb, okay? CeeDee Lamb's not playing in this game. There's only George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turbin, and whoever else you want on that team, okay? Those 3, plus Your defense is your secondary is terrible, and you have no pass rush. Which, I mean, by the way, thanks for that trade, Jerry. I mean, all the Cowboys fans really needed that terrible, terrible Micah Parsons trade, and just being reminded of that on the last drive is kind of crazy. But your defense gave up 40 points. You also scored 40 points. That's a win, dude. That's a win. Also, I've never seen the last 3 scores of a game be field goals, and it ends in a tie. That's crazy to me. But yeah, Micah Parsons got the sack on the last drive. Jerry Jones was talking about, oh, well, it's going to hurt seeing Micah in the green and gold. Well, then you just pay the man and you don't have to do that. But whatever. Let me just speak, right? Packers offense. I expected the Packers to score 40. I didn't expect the Cowboys to score 40. And the Packers defense is bad? Because I was high on that defensive line. That defensive line was incredibly good. Now they're más o menos. If you don't speak Spanish, that means so-so. They're okay. They're all right. Not great. They're not great. Like, last week was a dominating performance by that defense. They only give up 1 touchdown and 2 field goals. How did they drive down the field in the first place? But that's irrelevant because you only give up 1 touchdown. Now, like today, or Sunday, excuse me, you gave up 40 points and you sacked Dak Prescott once. The running game was not bad at all. Like, Javonte Williams, okay, very bad, but he still had 80 yards and a touchdown. So, and George Pickens went crazy. Like, you gotta give Jerry Jones some credit. Yes, the Micah Parsons trade doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but the George Pickens trade, granted, you didn't need him. Like, your biggest area of need was at the running back position. Like, if you were gonna trade with the Steelers, trade for Jaylen Warren or something like that, because they already have Caleb Johnson. So trade for Jaylen Warren, right? That would make sense. But granted, they picked up Pickens, and when the situation like this, like without George Pickens, the Packers win this game. So I know people are going to be upset with Jerry Jones. They're like, Micah Parsons won Defensive Player of the Year this year. Jerry Jones is an idiot. He's just the dumbest general manager, owner of all time. He needs to retire. And I go, well, you wouldn't have tied with the Packers without George Pickens, so, maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. Yeah, but the Packers, before I move on, the Packers, their run game is worse, with Josh Jacobs getting 86 yards and 22 carries, 2 touchdowns. Yes, but he averaged 3.9 per carry, so he wasn't great either. Time for the, I don't know what to call him, but upset of the week. Get into it. I put down 2. Although the second one's not really an upset. The first one, I think we all knew. Virginia upsets Florida State. I'm a little conflicted because I don't know what to think of Florida State's defense at this point in time. I'd like to think they're still good, but you have to show me this week. If you give up 40 to Miami, you're probably not the best. Miami has 2 bad wins on the season, Notre Dame and Florida. So if Miami beats Florida State, that just tells me everything I need to know about Florida State. You're not good. Neither is Alabama because they lost to you. That's what that tells me about Florida State. There's a good chance that they're going to make the ACC championship game. Which, I mean, okay. But if you lose to Miami, I think that chance is gone. Right out the window. And Virginia people are giving Virginia praise. Show me again. I forget the quarterback's name. Chandler Morris. Yeah, Chandler Morris. Show me again. Like, you play Louisville this week, undefeated. You play Cal in a couple of weeks, 4-1. No Clemson, which, I mean, is terrible for you, but you beat Florida State, so I'm conflicted. I don't know what to think about Florida State right now. Defense really kind of is throwing me off right now. We'll find out Saturday. And then the second one I have is Ole Miss LSU. I realized that LSU's offense wasn't playing good at all. Like, in their first couple of games, we're talking about LSU I said LSU might be the best team in the SEC. Sorry about being wrong. But the offense has not been high scoring all year. Like, 20, I mean, you look at the scores of the games that they won. Outside of Southeastern Louisiana, which is FCS school, so really shouldn't count. But you look at the games that LSU has played, and it's kind of like, they really haven't been good as an offense. So I think the question, like, they haven't been that great as an offense. And, you know, you haven't really scored above more than 23 points against an FBS team. And you gave up more than 24 points. So, LSU, to me, I mean, this is shocking. Like, LSU was the best team in the SEC to me. Now, I'm starting to think a little bit differently. Lot to unpack there, but I'll talk about it later when we get to my my rankings tomorrow. Yeah, Ole Miss 24, LSU. They score 19. Last game I wanted to talk about, much as it really doesn't pay me that much, but the Giants and the Chargers was upset of the week in the NFL. I didn't see any other upsets, really. Like, I get it, the Falcons beat the Commanders, but the Commanders didn't have Michael Penix Jr., or the Commanders didn't have Jane Daniels, so it was kind of like it was coming for them. I don't know, Jaguars beating the Niners. Like, this was the best real upset of the week, outside of the tie in Arlington. So, really, I'm just going to say this. Just going to put it out there. Justin Herbert, you can't win the game throwing the ball 40 times. Omarion Hampton played really well, had averaged 10 yards per carry, had a 54-yard run and a touchdown. So he played great. Was only sacked 2 times. Joe Alt got injured in this game too. I think the real issue is the defense. It's getting worse over the course of the season. Like, all right, I won't say it's getting worse, but like last week that defense didn't play great. They didn't play as at the level they played when they faced Kansas. Like, the defense right now to me is not really that good. Like, it's not as good as I thought it was. And with the Giants, I mean, with the offensive injuries that the Chargers have, right? Joe Alt, Najee Harris. It's going to take a lot for them to win football games now because of the offensive injuries. It was Jackson Dart's first start. My brother is still trolling me and talking very highly of Jackson Dart, even though he's sacked 5 times, which is why when I say, hey, they lost the first 3 games of the season, but it's not Russ's fault, that's what I mean. I mean, they weren't favored to win any of those first 3 games. Like, they weren't favored to win any of those first 3 games. Now, you've got this puppy with Giants versus Saints, Sunday at 1 o'clock, the over-under is 40 points. Might not get to that. I mean, it could be an offensive game, or it could just be like 6-7. I'm sorry. All right. But yes, Jackson Darksec 5 times. Malik Neighbors is out for the year, unfortunately. I'm so sorry to hear that, but I mean, the Giants really didn't play that good. It's just the offense, injuries, hard to overcome, and then the defense not just being as good as I thought. Yeah. All right, blowout of the week. Duke, Syracuse. Who watched that game on Saturday? I didn't. I just know it was a blowout. 38-3. Offense go brrr if you're the Duke Blue Devils. Syracuse, a couple of weeks ago, they beat Clemson, which means Clemson's the worst team in the ACC. I mean, between Clemson, Virginia Tech, and Stanford. Honestly, they should have like a how do I say this? Double elimination tournament just to see who can get relegated to the American Athletic. If you finish with the best conference record, you get the bye. If you win, you advance, and then the loser plays the team that lost the first time. Be pretty fun. I think that's a good idea. But yeah, between Stanford, Virginia Tech, and Clemson has a legitimate chance to be the worst team in the ACC. It's not a joke. It's genuine. I mean, the defense isn't great. Kate Klubnik's playing worse. Not good at all. So, I said Stanford, Virginia Tech, Clemson. I forgot to mention North Carolina played 2 teams with pulses. They lost to both. So, Saturday at 12, game of the week. Clemson, Unk. Be there. Yeah, and then the Panthers get destroyed by the Patriots. I didn't watch that game. I'm sure many people that listen to the pod are from Michigan, I'm from Michigan, so I didn't get this game since it was regional. Actually, no, they did do a double header. They did do early and a late. Unless you lived in that region, then you got your team-specific game. It just wasn't as interesting as most people thought. I can't remember what the local game was. I don't remember many. But yeah, and Bryce Young gets benched again, which is kind of like, oh my goodness, we're doing this again with Bryce Young. And people are already labeling him a bust. But it's like, I don't think, this is the same thing with the Russ. I don't think it's Bryce Young's fault. It's just the team and the offensive line is going to get him killed, so not much better. I mean, 18 for 30, a touchdown, no interceptions. It's just you're down so much at that point. That is kind of like, yeah, okay. Gonna go replace him. It's not great. The Panthers didn't play good, but, it's not Bryce Young's fault, I don't think. Because you're down 28-6 at half, so it's kind of, yeah, I don't think he deserved to get benched. All right, next, we get the College Player of the Week. And for the College Player of the Week, some would say Dante Moore. Others would say Carson Beck. Some people say Julian Sand, Bryce Underwood. All names of players who are candidates for the Heisman, except for maybe Bryce Underwood, because he's a freshman. Michigan struggled in the first game that they played. That was how do I say this? An actual good game, lost against the only good competition that they have, right? So, so I say Trinidad Chambliss for Heisman. I thought LSU's defense was the bomb. I thought LSU's defense would embarrass this guy. But this guy, granted, they did fumble. So, but off a fumble, right? Off of the interception that he threw, he was able to carry Ole Miss to a victory. I didn't even know that this guy was black. I didn't, but he's from Grand Rapids, Michigan. So he's from, I think, a little north of where I am. But yeah, I mean, he was only supposed to play because Austin Simons was injured. Simons not getting the job back. Chambliss just played too good. And I don't think Simons beats LSU. I don't think Simons beats Tulane like Chambliss did. Like, the job is gone. It's Trinidad Chambliss season. Chambliss for Heisman. That's got to be trending. I'm going to start that trend. All right, and then Jackson Dart for the Giants. I've talked enough about the Giants. Got sacked 5 times, but still had a great game. And had this week's upset of the week. So that's great. Next, we're going to get into my college football top 10. I'm just going to do my best to try to keep this as short as possible. So the top 10 teams I have for week 6 are as follows. Actually, I didn't do this for week 5. So my top 10 teams for week 5, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Texas. This is from 10 to 1. So Iowa State is 10. Texas Tech is 9. Texas is 8. Indiana is 7. Oregon is 6. Miami is 4. Or Miami is 5. LSU is 4. Georgia is 3. Penn State is 2. And Ohio State's 1. This week, for week number 6, I have Iowa State at 10. Texas Tech at 9, Ole Miss at 8, Penn State at 7, Texas at 6, Indiana at 5, Miami at 4, Alabama at 3, Oregon at 2, and Ohio State at number 1. That is my college top 10. I got to hit you with the NFL. The NFL top 10. For week number 4, because I didn't do this for week 4 either, I had the Vikings, Steelers, Rams, Lions, Packers, Bucks, Colts, Chargers, Bills, and Eagles. That was my top 10 for last week. And then this week, I have Vikings, Packers, Steelers. This is from 10 up to 1. So Vikings are 10, Packers are 9, Steelers are 8, Colts are 7, Buccaneers are 6, Chargers are 5, Rams are 4, Lions are 3, Bills are 2, and the Eagles are number 1. I elaborate more on these standings and these power rankings on tomorrow's episode, which I'm going to release tomorrow. I'm going to go into deeper dive about why I put those teams there, but I wanted to keep this episode short, and I have failed. So, but if you made it to the end of the video, which I'm first off going to say I'm very appreciative that you did make it to the end of the video. I ask that you leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I want to thank you so much for listening to today's episode of The Jackson Show. And as always, next time, you got to bring a friend.